Canada is quietly destroying Trump's tough guy image, and Mark Carney just made him bend the knee on live TV. It's calm, cold, Canadian revenge, and Trump never saw it coming. Let's unravel the chaos step by step.
Hi, Mr. Carney. In your second call with the president, did Mr. Trump outright say or insinuate at any point that Canada should become the 51st state?
He did not.
All right. We've heard Mr. Trump on April 23rd and his surrogates throughout the final days of the campaign reiterate the idea that they believe Canada should become the 51st state. On the campaign trail, you said on multiple occasions that respect for Canada would be one of the key things in terms of having a meeting with him. Do you think over the past few days we have seen respect for Canada from the Trump administration?
Look, it's always important to distinguish want from reality. La volonté et la réalité, right? What someone wants and what is reality, and what the Canadian people clearly have stated, virtually without exception, is this will never ever happen.
Donald Trump just got humiliated on the global stage by Canada. Yes, Canada, the country known for maple syrup, politeness, and now apparently handing Trump his political lunch. Because here's what just happened. Trump, the self-proclaimed alpha male, the tough guy who never backs down, just got politely dragged by former Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. And it was beautiful. This is what happens when a loudmouth bully runs into someone who doesn't take the bait. Carney didn't scream, he didn't insult. He just calmly dunked on Trump with facts, diplomacy, and a whole lot of that cool Canadian shade. And the best part, Trump backed down. Let that sink in. The man who once said he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose voters just caved to a guy who wears tweed and says sorry for fun. Let's be real. Trump's whole persona is built on this fake strongman routine. Chest out, jaw clenched, arms flapping like he's flexing in a wind tunnel. But when someone like Mark Carney calls him out, the whole act crumbles. This clip proves it. Carney doesn't just call Trump out, he calls his bluff. That whole Canada should become the 51st state fantasy. Yeah, not happening. Not even remotely close. Not even in a Tim Hortons fever dream. Trump might think he's playing chess, but Carney's out here finishing Sudoku puzzles while sipping maple lattes and making Trump look like a toddler with a broken Etch-a-Sketch. Stick around, because the next clip shows just how badly Trump fumbled trying to explain his Canada plan. And it's a train wreck you do not want to miss.
And if any of the leaders of the party and their representatives would attest to that, I think the votes attest to it. I think the public dialogue attests to it as well. We are, we're meeting as heads of our government to discuss that partnership. Now, I'm not pretending those discussions will be easy or they won't proceed in a straight line. There will be zigs and zags, ups and downs. But as I said in my remarks, I will fight for the best deal for Canada and only accept the best deal for Canada and take as much time that's necessary. But the point is, and I will make this point repeatedly, we have more than enough to do here at home. That point about we can give ourselves more than the Americans can take away is absolutely right. We can have a bigger boost to our economy, to incomes, to jobs by focusing on building one Canadian economy, by building these nation-building projects, by focusing on getting productivity up, by reducing government waste, by driving investment in this country. And so that is a good in and of itself. We're going to focus on that while we have these negotiations with the Americans. And if the negotiations with the Americans take longer, so be it. We've got more than enough to do here.
That's Mark Carney, basically saying in his charming, soft-spoken way, we don't need America, especially not Trump's America. This is the exact opposite of what Trump wants to hear. Carney just reminded the world that Canada has its own economy, its own strategy, and most importantly, its own spine. And he's not about to roll over for some fake billionaire reality star in a red hat. He's laying it out clearly. If Trump wants a deal, he's not getting it on his terms. Canada's not desperate. They're not groveling, they're busy, and they're gonna take their sweet time if they have to. And remember, this came right after Carney's victory on election night. The guy just crushed it. Enough votes to keep his government in power, and a slap in the face defeat for the Conservative Party, the one that tried to cosplay as Canada First with a Trump knockoff candidate. And guess what? That Trump-light conservative lost his seat. Why? Because surprise, surprise, being a Trump fanboy doesn't play well when the rest of the world sees you as a walking global punchline. Trump has become political kryptonite. Touch him and your career evaporates. So yeah, Carney has zero reason to play nice with Trump. He saw what happens when you try to appease the guy. He smells weakness and goes full WWE villain. But when you stand firm, he folds faster than a MAGA tent in a Canadian blizzard. Which brings us to Trump's bizarre explanation for why he lost the popularity contest in Canada.
He was running for office. They both hated Trump. And it was the one that hated Trump, I think, the least that won. I actually think the conservative hated me much more than the so-called liberal. He's a pretty liberal guy.
A great spin job from Donald J. Delusion. He's basically saying, yeah, sure, everyone hated me, but this one guy hated me a little bit less, so that's technically a win, right? No, Donald, that's not how this works. Let's just break that down. The conservative candidate, the one aligned with you, didn't just lose, he got obliterated, and it wasn't even close. Trying to act like Carney was your bestie? Please. Carney doesn't even pretend to like you. He just doesn't need to scream it into a microphone every 5 seconds. And let's be honest, around the world, hugging Trump's brand is political suicide. It's like showing up to a climate summit in an Exxon t-shirt. That's why Carney won. That's why progressives are winning in other countries too, and that's why Trump keeps embarrassing himself, trying to rewrite the scoreboard. But here's the part he couldn't spin. The Canada as 51 state fantasy, the one he was teasing on the campaign trail, yeah, that idea just went down in flames. And we've got the moment that proves it. Coming up next.
You and I talked, and I asked you if you would rule out military force to take Greenland, and you said no, you don't rule out anything. Would you rule out military force to take Canada?
Well, I think we're not going to ever get to that point. It could happen. Something could happen with Greenland. I'll be honest. We need that for national and international security.
But not with
I think
Canada?
It's highly unlikely. I don't see it with Canada. I just don't see it. I have to be honest with you.
Okay, but you don't rule it out for Greenland.
And by the way, Canada, they spend less money on military than practically any nation in the world. They pay NATO less than any nation. They think we're subsidized. They think we are going to protect them. And really, we are. But the truth is, they don't carry their full share, and it's unfair to the United States and our taxpayers.
But you are not ruling out military force to take Greenland.
I don't rule it out. I don't say I'm going to do it, but I don't rule out anything. No, not there. We need that. We need Greenland very badly. Greenland is a very small amount of people, which we'll take care of and we'll cherish them and all of that. But we need that for international security.
Let's take a moment here, because what on earth did we just watch? Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is now openly fantasizing about invading Greenland. Yes, the land of glaciers, puffins, and peaceful Nordic vibes. Trump wants to send tanks rolling through it like it's the opening scene of Call of Duty Arctic Madness. He's literally talking about launching military action against Denmark's backyard, and somehow pretending it's for international security. Sure, buddy, and I guess he'll annex the North Pole next for strategic elf access. This is the same guy who promised he was the peace president. No new wars, just vibes and golf. And now he's spitballing invasions like he's playing Risk on Fox News. And it gets even more unhinged, because now even Marjorie Taylor Greene is turning on him. Yes, MTG, the woman who thinks space lasers control the weather, is saying, Trump, you're being too chaotic. When she's the voice of reason, we're in uncharted territory. But let's pivot back to the Canada nonsense, because this is where the cringe hits a whole new level. Trump used to randomly call Justin Trudeau the governor. Classic alpha move when you can't remember who runs a whole country. But suddenly, he's calling Mark Carney the prime minister? That's not just a correction. That's Trump admitting defeat, quietly, pathetically. He knows the Canada as 51st state fantasy? Dead. He doesn't even bother trying to pitch it anymore. Just sort of grumbles about their military budget and backs off like a sulky toddler denied dessert. It's almost sad, like watching a magician realize no one's clapping anymore, just slowly packing up the flags and fireworks. And the real reason Trump's pouting, because his precious trade war with Canada is falling apart, and not in the I'm winning so hard kind of way. More like Canada built an entire aisle in their grocery stores just to boycott American products. That's how seriously they're taking this. And get this, the boycott is hitting Trump where it hurts most. Red states. The very people who helped elect him are now watching their exports rot on Canadian shelves untouched and unloved. Congratulations, MAGA. You played yourselves. But to really understand understand how badly Trump is getting smoked in this trade war, you've got to hear what Robert Garcia had to say about it. He lays it out in this next clip, and yeah, it's brutal.
Let's turn to the economy. Your district includes the Port of Long Beach. The executive director of the nearby Port of Los Angeles says shipments from China to the U.S. will plummet 35% next week due to Trump's tariffs. What is the domino effect here? I mean, again, I know you just came from a rally there. Are folks concerned?
I don't think people understand how serious this is. This is a huge, huge blow to the economy and to workers, what's happening right now. Look, I represent the second busiest container seaport in the United States. Los Angeles seaport is the top one. Combined, most of America's goods coming in from Asia are coming into these ports. We are right now seeing historic declines. We're seeing empty cargo containers coming into the United States. We're now seeing over 30% of decline in the amount of imports that are coming in from China. This is catastrophic.
And there it is, Trump's genius trade war strategy in action. Self-inflicted economic collapse. Congressman Robert Garcia just laid it out. The Port of Long Beach, one of the most critical arteries for U.S. trade, is now practically coughing up empty cargo containers. Why? Because Trump slapped tariffs on China like a toddler smashing buttons in a video game. And now the supply chain is broken. We're talking about a 35% nosedive in shipments. That's not just bad for California. That's a body blow to the entire American economy. Jobs crushed, goods delayed, prices skyrocketing, and the MAGA crowd, they're out here waving flags while their own businesses can't even get inventory. Trump promised to be a deal maker. Turns out he's just a discount demolition crew, and he's bulldozing the economy one disastrous policy at a time. Stick around, because it gets even messier in the next clip.
For workers, what you're going to start seeing in the weeks and months ahead is truckers doing less jobs. It's dock workers having less cargo to unload. And what that means is the consumer is going to have less on the shelves and prices are going to go up. People have to understand that the impact you're not going to feel exactly today, but you are going to feel it in the months ahead. This is going to have a ripple effect on the economy. Every empty container that's coming in is less jobs, less work, less warehousing, less trucking, impacts of the supply chain. This is catastrophic for America's ports. And I tell people, I agree, don't look to just the stock market for the health of the economy. Look at America's ports and trade. And so this is where we are headed. We're incredibly concerned. And these tariffs are going to be a massive tax increase on the American public.
So let's connect the dots here. Trump's little tariff tantrum isn't just a policy shift, it's a slow motion economic train wreck. And guess who's stuck on board? All of us. Robert Garcia just gave us the real world forecast. Fewer truckers getting gigs, dock workers standing around with nothing to unload, and empty containers pouring into ports like sad reminders of a trade war no one asked for. And here's the kicker. This isn't some distant abstract issue. We're talking about fewer products on store shelves, longer wait times, and price tags that keep climbing like Trump's golf tab. Inflation, yeah, that's not just a buzzword. That's what happens when the shelves are bare and your fridge is emptier than Trump's reading comprehension. And let's not forget, these tariffs are essentially a tax hike on you, on working families, on the exact people Trump promised to fight for. But hey, the stock market looks okay, right? Cool. Meanwhile, our ports are turning into ghost towns, and MAGA's big America First plan is sinking under the weight of its own stupidity.
Let me ask you quickly, because you went down to that prison in El Salvador trying to secure the release of Kilmer Borrego Garcia. When you have the president saying, yeah, I could bring him back, but I don't want to. Do you hope he's going to get back? What are your expectations?
Look, the United States Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, has told Donald Trump and his administration that he must return, that he must be brought back. Lower courts have said the same thing. The administration has said they sent him there by mistake. This is a constitutional crisis moment. We cannot allow Donald Trump to cross the red line of not listening and following orders of the Supreme Court. This is not about just Kilmer. Look, this is much bigger than him and his story. This is about the Constitution and whether we're going to actually follow what the Supreme Court says. So we have to demand that Donald Trump would bring back Kilmer. That's why I was in El Salvador. That's why others will continue to go and advocate for Donald Trump to follow the Supreme Court and bring him back.
Let's pause and just absorb the fact that Donald Trump is now ignoring the Supreme Court, not challenging them, not negotiating, just flat out pretending they don't exist. Robert Garcia made it crystal clear. The Supreme Court said unanimously, bring this man back. Lower court said the same. Trump's own people admitted they sent him away by accident, and yet Trump's response? I don't feel like it. This isn't a minor disagreement. This is the President of the United States outright refusing to comply with a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling. That's not just lawlessness. That's crossing a constitutional red line in broad daylight. And let's not miss the bigger picture. This is about whether Trump believes the rules apply to him at all. Spoiler, he doesn't. And somehow, this is happening while he's also setting the economy on fire with his strategy of just randomly inventing new tariffs like a kid making up monopoly rules. We've got a guy who's openly defying the law and crashing the economy in the same week. That's not leadership, that's sabotage wrapped in spray tan, but some are fighting back.
You've become the first state to actually sue Trump over these tariffs. What's the basis of your case?
Well, he doesn't have the legal authority to unilaterally impose these tariffs. He used a law, a 1977 law, that Congress afforded the president certain rights, but one of them was not to impose unilaterally tariffs. It's under the Emergency Economic Powers Act. We were the first state to initiate that lawsuit. 12 other states have followed suit. And interestingly, from the conservative perspective inside, the Koch brothers are well known here in the United States of America. Champions of conservative causes also have filed a similar lawsuit on the same grounds.
Boom. There it is. Trump's tariff stunt is now officially getting dragged into court, and not just by Democrats, but by conservatives too. That's how badly he messed this up. Because here's the thing, the guy tried to use a 1977 emergency law to justify these tariffs like he's some kind of economic action hero. But guess what? That law doesn't give him the right to start a one-man trade war. It's called the Emergency Economic Powers Act, not the Do Whatever You Want Donald Act. So now we've got multiple states, starting with this one, suing Trump for abusing presidential power. And the twist, even the Koch brothers network, you know, the shadowy billionaires behind half the right-wing machine, are suing Trump too. When the Kochs in California are suddenly tag teaming you in court, that's not a strategy. That's a political faceplant. Trump thought he could just shout tariff and skip the law. But now he's getting a front row seat to how checks and balances actually work. And the legal storm he just walked into, it's about to get loud.
If this does end up, being something that Congress has to tackle, how confident are you that they would back your position, which is against the tariffs? And I ask because what we have noted here in Canada is there have been governors like yourself who are outspoken, but not a lot of the allies, traditional allies in Congress that we were used to seeing defend free trade are saying a lot this time around.
No, I mean, we have one branch of government. It's the rule of Trump right now. It's almost the law. It feels like the law of the jungle in so many respects. A sort of apex predator deciding day in on a whim, day in, day out decision on this or that, a side deal here, a side deal there, a phone call, a foreign leader reaching out. I mean, it's no way to govern a small business, let alone the largest nation in the world. And so the economic consequences, the uncertainty, the chill across the spectrum is profound. And it's profound because, as you suggest, this notion of three branches of government, co-equal branches of government, popular sovereignty, the rule of law has been challenged, and Congress is completely silent and completely complicit. And that's something that needs to be called out and highlighted absolutely as well.
We are living in the rule of Trump, not the rule of law, not checks and balances. Just one orange apex predator stomping around, making deals on a whim, and treating global trade like a reality show spinoff. And the wildest part, Congress is just letting it happen. The same Republicans who used to scream about limited government are now just sitting there watching as Trump trashes every basic principle of democracy. This isn't how you run a country. It's not even how you run a lemonade stand. It's chaos, it's arbitrary, it's embarrassing. And as the governor just said, the result is economic freefall, confusion, price hikes, a ripple effect so wide it's smacking both sides of the border. And where are Trump's free market defenders now? Nowhere, silent, complicit. And let's say it again for the people in the back, tariffs are a tax on you. This isn't policy, it's an ego trip with a price tag you pay. So yeah, we're gonna keep hammering this because corruption, stupidity, and incompetence aren't side effects of the Trump administration. They are the administration. And if you thought this was bad, wait until you see what Trump just did next. Click on it.